Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be a video about a pattern change or unique event that is going to be occurring across the eastern United States for the most part. And it's something that doesn't occur too often. It's, if you will bear with me here, a Arctic outbreak in June induced by a hurricane tropical storm. Now, again, that's just by itself, so there's a lot of words there that need explanations, and I'll be explaining all of that in today's video. So, if you guys would like to subscribe to this channel, I do all sorts of weather-related content, so if you'd like to, consider doing so. If you'd like to like the video, you could do that as well if you're a returning viewer. That always helps out a lot. So, let's look at the Gfs model and start things off. So, right now, we're looking at the, let's go back to the 2-meter temperature anomalies. This is higher up in the atmosphere. Where you can see it generally displays similar things on the surface as it does at 850 PA. So if you were to look at this hour by hour or every 6-hour intervals, step by step, notice that we have a good dosage of warm air across Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, and this is out ahead of this tropical storm, which is basically at this point it's further up north, but here's where a secondary low pressure is forming. And the tropical storm is out here, and it's just really blasting Michigan with heat at this point. This is tomorrow. For today, this is where it is right now. You can see it's right there, and out ahead of it, it's just really warm and muggy. And behind it, it's very cold, as this brings down lots of cooler, I guess, weather behind it. And this only gets worse, as you can see that, this is just, I guess, weather, cool, cloud-induced, cold, cooler air, and it's very warm out ahead of that tropical storm, the remnants of it at least, but then look what it drags down behind. This thing moves up into southern Canada by James Bay, which is this little water piece right here, and it just drags down a really cool air mass, which is very, very cold, and the anomalies are pretty significant. You're gonna notice that it stays for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It stays cold across Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. This is basically as close as you'll get to a cold/Arctic outbreak during the summer. Again, you can see that this stays on for quite a while. Later on, yes, we do get a break and we start getting some more heat above average. But not before we see a good dose of cooler temperatures. So this June has started off very warm, and it was almost near record-breaking for some of these locations that are now going to be seeing pretty chilly temperatures. I don't think they're going to be record-breaking, not record-breaking cold, but it's going to be noticeable. So notice this is where that tropical storm is. Notice how the temperatures are cooled because of cloud cover and rain. We know it. We go past through this, and it moves up into southern Canada, and this is where things get nasty. So you can see we have some 30s close to the freezing line across southern Canada, and this starts moving down into Illinois, Indiana, and into the south, or into the Ohio Valley. Notice this is Friday. It's still warmer across these parts of the country. It's below average. It's not really average. You can see 77. That's a bit cooler than average, but look at that right there, 50, 60s. That is very cool. And notice Saturday is just really, really chilly. We see widespread 60s and 50s. The heat to the south is suppressed as well. Maybe a few areas where it's above average, but it's generally gonna be cooler. You can see Sunday, much of the same story. Monday, some same stories. Maybe the warmth getting an upper hand at this point. And then Tuesday we start getting maybe some more of that warmth back. And then by Wednesday it's heat again, and it's back to a lot of warmth. And again, the south, you can see, just starts flaring up with straight just hundreds and 90s, and that's basically where it stops, having any influence. But it'll be pretty long-lived, almost for a week in some areas. If you were to look at the European model, let's take a look at this. This is the 500 millibar geopotential height, which basically gives us a look at the temperatures, and the temperature heights at at 500 millibars of pressure, and whether they are above or below average, and that tells us if the heights are below, then that's below average temperatures. If the heights are above, that's above average temperatures. Notice that with the storm, it's pretty powerful. It moves into UP at Michigan Lake Superior, kind of again by James Bay, and that's where it really kicks back. I mean, this thing has strong winds. This thing's a beast. It's powerful. So like all low pressures counterclockwise, you can see right there, it's its wind field all the way spanning into eastern portions of Saskatchewan, right there, and you can see that it's just really, it brings down that cool air quite drastically. and pronounced. So notice that it sticks around for a while this heat is kind of getting around it. This cool air mass is still there, and eventually it will break for sure. The Europeans kind of having a little bit fun with this, taking quite a while. But I think it'll be by the time next Wednesday comes, around a week from today, it should start getting warm again across much of the country. If you were to look at what the western United States looks like during this time frame, let's go to 2-meter temperature anomalies. It's kind of going to be a back and forth, and that I mean that between above average and below average. So notice that right now, if you were to look at them, the west very below average. We're even seeing some snow across parts of the Colorado mountains right now. Okay, and you can see that moves off east. We get warmth across the west, then we get another cool blast across the west. So that's what I mean on and off. Then we get kind of a mixture of both, colder in the northwest, warmer in the southeast part of the west, and then we get more cold. The warm air tries coming back in, and it does so, and it gets eventually possibly excruciating, like very, very hot. That's kind of what I want to say, across British Columbia and Alberta, Canada. You can see just that is that is heat. And if you were to look at the 2-meter temperature shaded, we see 70s and 80s, which is pretty unusual for these locations. Very unusual. You can see it's cooler in parts of Missouri than it is in central Saskatchewan and Manitoba. So unusual for sure, to say the very least. Let's look at some of the ensemble members to see if we could get a more generalized view, as the models that are showing you was just one model, or just one model, so they could have a lot of I guess errors and a lot of variances over a short time. But GFS or ensembles, like the Gfs ensembles, have more confidence as they're more grouped, and you can see cool air is on its way for this is Friday, this is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You can see it dwindles over time and the heat takes back its place. Maybe a bit of cool air towards later on, but definitely up until next Monday, Tuesday, it's going to be cool across the eastern U.S. and kind of a back and forth backwash across the west. A little bit of warm, a little bit of cool. If you were to look at the EPS, which we don't have the 2-meter temperature anomalies for the EPS, we have the A850 HPA anomaly. It's basically derives to the same thing, just a little bit higher in atmosphere, and a little bit of different graphics. You can see warm out in the east, cold out in the west as of now. Then it changes, cold in the east, warm in the central U.S., and then the heat takes back over. And that's what I think will happen. If you were to look at the 6 to 10 day outlook, which spans from July 15th, this is actually, that time frame where the heat starts bouncing back, and there's still a little bit of cool air left across the southern U.S. because, again, that kind of starts across the north and drifts to the south. It doesn't just disappear like sometimes it seems to do. You can see the warmth kind of is across the central U.S. 8 to 14 outlook, really the warmth kind of just dominates. The confidence isn't awfully high, but it seems like it will be on the warmer side, and really it wouldn't be cool in the first place. It wouldn't be, we wouldn't be having this cool down if it wasn't for this giant tropical storm that we're having. And you can see that it's mainly actually going to stay dry in 8 to 14 day period, and in the 6 to 10 it's much of the same thing. You can see that we're seeing at we're looking at some pretty below average precipitation amounts. And this looks like it could pose a problem across portions of the U.S. as it's been very wet, but, extended dry spells aren't good at all. And it's only going to be above average across the west and the east and the parts of the east, New Jersey, Maryland, and into Florida. So that's also a big factor, the dryness that's coming. And if that overlaps with the heat, which thankfully it will to a certain extent, it's going to be dry while this cool mass is coming through the U.S. So at least then it won't be frying everything, but it looks as if it will continue to stay dry when the heat comes back. So that's going to be more of an issue. So that's definitely something we'll have to monitor and keep a close eye on. Let's look at the Canadian model and let's quickly glance at what it has to say. You can see towards the long range it has heat marked by the above average temperatures, and in the closer range again it has that cool off, and it's basically like a vortex, a lobe of colder air that comes through, and it's very well defined, and most of the models are agreeing on it, as I showed you the ensembles, which is over 20 models for the GFS ensembles. At least it's a lot of models, so that definitely is showing some signs of confidence. I would also quickly jump back to GFS and focus on the precipitation amounts. If we were to look at the anomaly for the 7-day total precip, you notice you'll see more yellow than green. You can see the yellows prevail, possibly a little bit more active towards the end of the forecasting period, which is hopefully what we'll see because, good dry conditions during this time of the year where everything is absolutely just booming in growth. June and July could really pose a serious threat to farmers. This could be a bigger threat if the year was dry, but it hasn't been really across much of the U.S. So this should be fine. This should be relatively fine. But even if it's been a wet year, all it takes is 2 weeks of dry weather, and you're dry. The soil's gone, or the water in the first inches of soil is gone, and that's what the crops need. So really, it's a fine line between the balance of wet and dry. And it doesn't take a lot to displace it. A little bit of heat, maybe a few thunderstorms to make it flooding, heat to make it dry. And that's why it's weather's so unpredictable, and it's equally as important. If we were to look, I want to show you one more thing. Let's look at the Canadian temperatures, what it's showing for the 2-meter temperature shaded. It's showing much of what the GFS showed. You can see that in the longer range, very hot, the heat returns. In the shorter range, it was also pretty warm across the eastern United States, but behind that, it really cools down. You can see even some 32-degree temperatures across extreme northeastern parts of, I think this is Quebec. This is Ontario, sorry. And you can see that that kind of it kind of makes its way pretty far south, and you can see that the Canadian doesn't really put a lot of cool weather. You can see it brings the 80s all the way to northern Illinois on this day, June 12th. It doesn't seem like it will make it that far north. You can see the nights, according to the Canadian, it's pretty chilly, 40s and 50s across the plains. So they're all agreeing on it, and it seems like the plains will be building in on some heat this upcoming weekend into this weekend, while the eastern stays cold and the western does as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking the video, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya, bye.